In grappling and MMA, there's one golden rule that a fighter must always obey. When broken, you stand to lose some, if not all, respect and credibility as a martial artist. It's so important that if not followed, it can be career-altering or even ending. That rule is a fighter must always respect the tap. From time to time, we see people who break this rule. Maybe they just didn't feel the tap. Or maybe they were too in the heat of the moment to notice the ref trying to end the fight. But what happens when it's not just a one-time occurrence? Instead, submission after submission, the fighter holds on a bit too long. And by a bit, I mean a lot. Well, Rousimar Palhares happens.
Opa, perna, já botou na chave de calcanhar. Tá no calcanhar, opa, pegou. Pegou, solta, toquinho.
Huge mistake. And look out for the legs. He's got it. Tap. He didn't let go. Oh, man.
He's verbally saying, I'm done. He's tapping. Keith Peterson is jumping here on top of them to stop this fight. And Palhares still locking on this thing, wants to rip this guy's leg off. I would fire them.
Shields gets the takedown. He rolls out the Kimura, but this is it. It's all over. And once again,
Rousimar's martial arts journey began with picking up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the age of 15. It wasn't until at the age of 24 that he would make his transition to MMA, fighting in smaller organizations throughout Brazil in efforts to make it to the big leagues, the UFC. After a 2-2 start to his career, Rousimar went on a tear, no pun intended, by winning his next 5 fights all by submission.
Perna, já botou na chave de calcanhar. Tá no calcanhar, opa, pegou. Pegou, solta, toquinho. O Mago Negão bateu, voltou, ele foi pras costas. Já saiu no pé, ó.
Olha que chave de pé linda.
Chave de pé, calcanhar, pegou no calcanhar.
Sensacional, bateu.
Pegou muito
que
encaixado,
show
pessoal.
de bola do Rousimar Toquinho, que coisa linda,
nem
hein?
esperava, o Fábio Negócio que não esperava essa chave de pé, foi muito rápido.
Olha,
O Daniel nem sentiu, né? Talvez o Toquinho já...
2 or 3 of these victories from this run Palhares had were quite questionable regarding the length of time he had held on to the submission. Nevertheless, Rousimar was now the Fury FC Grand Prix champion, and his successes would make his dreams come to fruition. He was now set to fight on the biggest stage in MMA.
Out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Rousimar Palhares.
Salver makes an explosion to move. He's going to try to twist around.
It's over! Great transition.
Things couldn't have started off better for Palhares after earning a submission of the night victory in his UFC debut, and soon after earning another submission victory over Lucio Linhares, coming by way of heel hook. With this victory, Rousimar was now 3-1 in the UFC, and it almost looked as if he had turned a new leaf and put his submission cranking days behind him. That was until his next fight.
Huge mistake. And look out for the legs. He's got it. Tap. He didn't let go. Oh, man.
He has vicious leg locks. All it took was a slip.
Rousimar would be handed a 90-day suspension as a result of failing to let go when the referee stopped the fight. It was almost instant karma that in his next fight coming off of his suspension, he would be knocked out for the first time in his career by veteran Nate Marquardt. After this knockout loss, Rousimar would find himself back on the winning track, and over his next 3 fights, he would go 3-0 with 2 submission victories and a submission of the night bonus.
Tentando botar pro chão. Pra onde ele gosta. Já pegou. Vai acabar. Acabou.
During this period in 2011, Rousimar also competed in the prestigious ADCC event, held for the most elite grapplers in the world.
Yeah, ready?
Palhares won his first 3 fights all by heel hook, with his most notable victory being over Rafael Lovato. In the finals, he would face off against Andre Galvao in what would be a match with some great scrambling. Ultimately, he would lose by points and walk off an ADC silver medalist. But Galvao was still not done with Rousimar. He had to teach him a lesson on etiquette. As well as things had gone for Palhares recently, his career would make a total 180. His next 2 fights in the UFC would result in KO losses against Alan Belcher and Hector Lombard. But that wasn't even the worst of it. After his KO loss against Lombard, Rousimar would be suspended for 9 months due to elevated testosterone levels. After his suspension in his first fight back against Mike Pierce, Rousimar caught a heel hook, and Rousimar did what Rousimar
locks
does.
on this heel hook on Mike Pierce. Mike Pierce is verbally saying, "I'm done." He's tapping. Keith Peterson is jumping here on top of them to stop this fight. And Palhares still locking on.
This was the last straw as the UFC took action and permanently banned Rousimar from his organization. It would only take 1 month after his release from the UFC until Rousimar would sign a multi-fight deal with the World Series of Fighting MMA promotion.
And there we go, leg lock attempt. And this is where Palhares really does excel. Leg lock, Steve Carl. He's got to pull this spinning out of this. He's got to kick his butt, literally, and pull out. He's got to watch out, roll with it. That's it. That is it. He has done it again.
Rousimar had got off to a great start, winning by way of heel hook against Steve Carl. Just because this promotion wasn't the UFC did not mean Rousimar wouldn't be fighting the best of the best. His next fight would be against former UFC title contender John Fitch.
You know, against Holman last time, I already said it, he looked so good with his striking, but Holman, oh, he's got to pull that leg out now.
Well, here's the specialty. Here's the specialty. That's what they're going for, and Palhares is trying for that heel hook right now on Fitch.
And Fitch, the knee for Palhares to get up, as long as you can't lock your legs. And also, you want to, knee bar. This could be trouble.
Palhares is going for that, and he's got him.
That's it.
He's got him. It's over. Palhares makes quick work again, and he does it again.
After now 2 consecutive heel hook victories, Rousimar's third and what would be final fight in the WSOF was against another former UFC title contender, Jake Shields.
Palhares doesn't look tired at all. Shields gets the takedown. He rolls out the Kimura, but this is it. It's it. It's all over.
What would have been a celebratory victory over an accomplished fighter instead turned into yet another setback to Rousimar due to his own actions. Shortly after, Palhares was stripped of his belt and indefinitely suspended by WSOF. And even more serious, the Nevada State Athletic Commission voted unanimously to suspend him for 2 years plus a $40,000 fine. Rousimar wasn't happy with this suspension, which is understandable, but his response in this article has some claims that I don't believe for a second. I'm pretty sure he's torn quite a few ACLs and meniscuses. Nearly a year after having been suspended, Rousimar would return to MMA, competing in Italy, Poland, and lastly Russia, compiling a total of 6 fights with 1 win, 1 draw, and 4 losses, all by KO. Palhares, now age 42, hasn't competed in MMA since 2018, but he has been more recently in the grappling scene, competing against the world's best grapplers in super fights, such as Gordon Ryan, Craig Jones, and William Tackett. Rousimar Palhares is one of, if not the most controversial fighter to have ever fought in professional grappling and MMA. His ability to get to his desired leg lock positions, coupled with his tendencies to keep cranking after the tap, made him one of the most feared fighters in the circuit.